And I'm telling you, you know, with the role that I've got in the ambulance service, I see loads of people who have been diagnosed with conditions that, for me, are anxiety or manifestations of anxiety, and it's rife. It's rife. You know, that long-term lump in the throat, or that inability to breathe properly, or that pain in the shoulder, or that constant headache, or that weird pressure feeling in your head. It's a lot of it. You get your medical stuff ruled out, and when your doctor says, I can't find anything wrong with you, mate, you can put up for anxiety and then work on the anxiety. And this is really hard, and I hated this to begin with, but it's like, it's forget about the symptoms, just forget about them, carry on as normal. They're not and your brain has this really great way of, it's very receptive to what you put attention on, and if you are constantly putting attention on the anxiety, it's going to give you more. So we have to gradually just guide it away to life, doing life instead. And I promise you, the anxiety will drop off without you doing complicated psychological things. And
All right. Hey, folks, welcome to the channel. This is Shiv here, one of the mentors at Bye Bye Panic. And today I have the privilege of speaking with Jonathan Williams, who is all the way over in the UK. Hey, John.
hi, how are you doing, Shiv?
I am pretty awesome, man, and glad to be here with you today to talk about this recovery journey that you had. Um, I remember you coming through the program from the beginning, your first call, being one of your coaches and mentors, guiding you through, seeing your willingness to learn and do what we teach. You've had quite a journey, lots of up and downs in between, right? But here you are. How do you feel about this, man? Even just being here now on the channel to speak to, well, the internet. How do you feel?
Well, yeah, that's great. I initially, I wanted to do this because of the people on the mentorship. The guys and girls that I've interacted with, because some of them are still going through that process. I seemed to have just been able to, with a few ups and downs, which we can talk about. I seem to have just been able to adopt the process quite well.
Yeah.
And maybe one of the people who, I say this in quotes, have got out of it a little bit quicker maybe than the average person does. Not quite there, but we're mostly there. So I think it'd be, my experience is going to help a lot of people along the way.
Yeah, man. And that's basically what we're setting out to do here and in doing this. And we're so grateful that, you're just yet another one that has come through this program, has seen great results. And I know you just feel like, because I was you, I was a client of this program, and then I eventually became a coach. And when you recover, you feel like, wow, I did so many things, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But I did so many things, nothing seemed to work, no one could have helped me. And now I came to this program, I got the right help, I recovered. You want to scream it from the mountaintops, right? Because there are people out there that are suffering needlessly. They don't need to, because if they find Bye Bye Panic, they find a program like this with our awesome mentorship, the things that we teach, the community that we have. It's different than anything I ever experienced, right? I'm sure you can agree with that. But hey, let's take it from the beginning, man. Like, what were your biggest symptoms?
Oh gosh, how long have we got? So the biggest one that I had to deal with was this feeling of dread, this feeling of doom, and it was very sort of in and around the chest and the stomach. And my bit previous to coming into the world of anxiety recovery, I'd messed around with the spiritual world and that idea of feelings. You've got to listen to every single feeling and intuition, and it got me in all sorts of trouble. That did. So that's the main one. And then I have mentioned a few times previously that I dealt with pain as well. For quite a few years, that was for now, for me, knowing what I know now, was related to my anxiety, long-term sciatica. And it might sound really outlandish to think that anxiety can cause sciatica, but it did, as I had everything ruled out. And as soon as I started to address the stress levels, the sciatica went away. And it occasionally comes back if I get too stressed. So yeah, it's a good barometer. Ear problems, eye problems, breathing problems, the palpitations. And the palpitations were never too difficult for me because for the people who know me, I'm an EMT in the ambulance service, and I deal with people with palpitations and like the acute panic attacks quite regularly. So even though the hardest symptoms for me to deal with were the more generalized stuff, as opposed to the big panic attacks, I only had a couple of them, but I knew exactly what they were, what caused them, and they were very short-lived because I was like, I've seen this, I treat this every day, I know what to do with this. But it was the generalized stuff that was driven by chronic worry and stress that got me more than anything. And that's about it with the symptoms, really. Yeah, those, yeah, and
Well,
rumination.
actually, and thanks so much for giving us a detailed understanding what was going on with you. I'm sure some folks looking at this right now are thinking, dude, I have it easy compared to this guy. Or some folks are saying, wow, he spoke about everything that I'm feeling right now. I remember saying to Sean and some of the other coaches, I would not wish this on my worst enemy. It felt like living hell. And, I always say I was one of the lucky ones. I had every symptom, and we know there's those physical ones, there's the emotions and the feelings, there's the thoughts. It's just so much that you go through, and you really wonder if people out there can relate, or you seek that reassurance that, okay, others have gone through this. If they've recovered, then it gives you that hope that maybe you could do it too. So thankfully, you've gone through this, and now I'm sure you have some compassion for your past self, and you don't dread those times anymore, but you kind of look at those times and it's like, wow, I came through that, and I've learned a lot. Some of the best transformations come through discomfort, right? But you did it, man, and we're proud of you. And you started to actually answer the next thing I wanted to ask you, like, how did all of this start? And you mentioned the stress. You wanna just kind of expand on that a bit more?
Yeah, I mean, anxiety, Shiv, has been with me for as long as I can remember, from when I was a child. But it never went into a full-blown cycle of anxiety. In fact, I've had 3 cycles of anxiety. The first one was when I moved away from home, and the second one was during lockdown, and this third one where I reached out for help. This one just gone. The first 2, I got out of them, and this is important, by not doing anything about it.
Hmm.
And the moment I started to interfere with my natural emotional processes is when anxiety started to stick around for too much of a long time. So this cycle, this time, it was ironically meeting my girlfriend that put me into a cycle of anxiety. Without getting into loads of details, some relationship difficulties from childhood and past relationships makes it very sort of what's the word? Sort of difficult grounds for me to navigate through a relationship, and it caused a lot of anxiety. So yeah, that's what brought me to Bye Panic in September last year, was meeting my girl a few months before, and then going, I need to stay with this girl because she's ace, but I've got a lot of anxiety, and I need to deal with that now, because I was on my own for a long time, and it didn't show itself until I met my girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's speaking to, I'm sure, hundreds or even thousands of people right now that can relate to that. Sometimes folks feel like they don't even know how to properly articulate what they're going through, or relate to others, or they might even be afraid, like embarrassed that, hey, I think this is happening because of a relationship or my past or traumas, whatever it is. And we know because of this program and the things that we teach, what we focus on, how we help get the clients out through all of this. And you've obviously, recovered, and I had a chance to kind of glimpse her as well as we were starting this video up, right? And I'm really happy for you guys and your relationship. But you mentioned, trying to figure it out. Hey, I need to stay with her. What did you do to try to fix this before this program? What are some of the things you did, man? Because you said from childhood you had struggle, right? So here you are now. We don't have to disclose your age, but you're a mature guy. You have experience. You've been working for a number of years, fighting this thing off and working. And there's a lot of people out there who just get used to coping, but they don't really live a full, free life. And at some point, you decided, I want to live that way. I want freedom from this once and for all. So, were those things that you started to do to try to
Yeah.
fix it?
So the first thing I tried was yoga. This was about 15 years ago. And I tried the whole concept of yoga, and I followed all that sort of doctrine. And
Okay.
no, it didn't work at all. It didn't work.
Okay.
I've been in therapy several times where I've dug up my past, and that never seemed to work for me. I've had I had some success, as I said. It had quite a lot of pain years ago, and I used some mind body work by an author named John Sarno, which later I realized doing Bye Bye Panic, it's exactly the same thing. It's the same principles that I applied to pain as I applied to, as you taught me to apply to anxiety. It's the same thing. So I had some really good success with that. But then lockdown came, and that was difficult for everybody, and none more so than me in my house on my own. What else have I tried? So I did try Barry McDonough's Dare with some success. That's how I found Bye Bye Panic, a podcast that Sean did with one of the mentors on there. And I had some peripheral success with that, but it's really difficult to teach yourself out of a book. It really, really is. You're inevitably going to get stuff wrong. You're going to put your beliefs and your ideas onto it, and it was always so difficult to try and pick up a book and go, because I was doing it wrong, and instantly started to respond in the incorrect way, in the way what we're not supposed to respond to anxiety, to try and get rid of it. So a little bit of movement with that, and then I kind of just drifted for a couple of years until I've met Beck, and then obviously that's that spiked the anxiety. So I've had my hand forced into dealing with it, really, and facing it every day, no matter how it comes at me.
Wow. Well, you've really tried stuff. So you started to Google stuff, I imagine, search, you went to therapy, all the things that you said, got some results here and there, but not lasting results. Did you ever feel that hopelessness that people feel? Well, man, I'm at my wit's end. I'm trying everything and nothing's really working. Some things are making sense, but how do I do this thing? So that kind of leads me to the mentorship program, finding it. What was your experience with what we do at Bye Bye Panic, this mentorship program? Finally,
So
having your own, having that guidance. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it was let's take away the book and let's put a real person in front of me, and to tell me that here's where you're going wrong and here's what you need to do, and that was it. I had a little bit of presence on the platform school, mainly with respect to sharing my wins. I like to share my wins. I didn't ask a load of questions, but I asked a load of questions on the Zoom mentorship calls. They seemed to be, for me, they were motivating, because I could speak to people who had already recovered in the mentors, and you were giving me the correct information over and over again. And a lot of the time with anxiety, what I found was somebody could say something to me 20 times, but it would be just that slightly different way of saying it, and it would go, it would sink in then. So somebody might say, you need to respond in this way to anxiety, but then one of the mentors would just say a sentence that would get it to sink in. So the mentorship calls were probably the most important part of it for me. To see, also see other people asking questions that were oftentimes quite similar.
Yeah.
And also with regards to your calls, because I always used to come on your call and Jeff's call, maybe Merker's on a Friday, but it was always work related, and you'd often see me that I was at work when I came on. I always used to like your little 10-minute introductions. They were always motivational for me, and would get me sort of in the right mindset and attitude.
Yeah. You mentioned stepping away from trying to do it on your own, getting the guidance. And you said you realized after getting the mentorship, I always say direction is better than correction. It takes a lot less time. There's mistakes, there's mentorship. Which one do you think, costs you more? And to me, the mistakes cost you a lot more time, a lot more money. But having someone that can guide you. See, the thing is, when you don't, right? What happens is you can get really good at doing the wrong thing.
Oh yeah.
and we don't know if we don't have that guide, someone who has done it and come through it. So you check the fruit on the tree. You've seen someone who has the results you want, you learn from them, you follow them. But when you're all just kind of figuring out on your own, it can be tough. And then also you get good at that, and the areas that you're good in might sometimes be the areas you're least coachable in. So it takes a humble attitude, a spirit of, I really want to learn. And if these people have the results, can they work with me? And hey, you came in with that mindset, that attitude, recognizing that you were, I guess, stuck for a while. So for folks out there who were stuck, maybe you've done some work to get yourself to a certain point, but you still feel like there's that final hump, then the mentorship can help. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. And that's what most people need, is that just getting over that final hump. And it's just, it can be as hard as you make it. You can overcomplicate it. But anxiety recovery is very simple, but hard to enact, and hard to because it takes time, and everybody wants anxiety gone in a day or in a week.
Yes.
Just unfortunately, the truth of it is, if anybody's telling you you can get rid of your anxiety in a month, don't work with them, because you just can't. You might be able to get rid of those really high panic attacks. They seem to drop off really quickly. But generalized stuff with your long-term symptoms, it just takes ages. And for me, what I noticed was, it was, rather than a big moment of no anxiety, it was, not been anxious for a few days now. And that was how recovery was happening, and it is still happening for me.
Yeah. Well, man, we see you come so far, and we're so proud of your journey, and you're basically there. And I already in this video, I know if I was someone who never saw you before and was struggling with this, starting to hear your background, all the things you've been through, all the things you've tried, I would literally have some hope right now. Yeah. And what would you tell that person who's at like their lowest point right now, or even your past self, younger you, who was really struggling, had no clue which way was up? What do you tell that person?
You're not broke. You've just been worrying and stressed for way too long, and your nervous system has responded appropriately. There ain't nothing wrong with you. Your nervous system has just responded appropriately, and now it's your job to teach it again that there's nothing wrong and you are safe. It's just firing off because it thinks there's danger, but there isn't. And this is what's giving you all the wacky, crazy symptoms. And I'm telling you, you know, with the role that I've got in the ambulance service, I see loads of people who have been diagnosed with conditions that for me are anxiety, or manifestations of anxiety, and it's rife. It's rife. That long-term lump in the throat, or that inability to breathe properly, or that pain in the shoulder, or that constant headache, or that weird pressure feeling in your head. It's a lot of it. You get your medical stuff ruled out, and when your doctor says, I can't find anything wrong with you, mate, you can put up anxiety and then work on the anxiety. And this is really hard, and I hated this to begin with, but it's like, it's forget about the symptoms, just forget about them, carry on as normal. And your brain has this really great way of, it's very receptive to what you put attention on, and if you are constantly putting attention on the anxiety, it's going to give you more. So we have to gradually just guide it away to life, doing life instead. And I promise you, the anxiety will drop off without you doing complicated psychological things
Right. The yoga, the meditation, we don't put those
yeah.
things down. They're good for health, right? But if we're using all of these things and the intention is to just get rid of anxiety, yeah. And I mean, there are people out there on all kinds of things for years, just coping. But there is a way to live. That's a great message you give to your past self, or someone who's really low right now. And hey, I guess coming into the program gave you that confidence to talk to that past self and to say, hey, I know which way is up now. So what about this program, man? Would you, that person who's at that low point that is wondering, or, has really low hope, you really encourage them just moments ago talking about you're not broken. Get back to living life. Don't make it too important. Refocus. Great advice. But what would you tell them if they're genuinely looking for help? You think a program like this could really make a difference for them? What would you suggest that they try to reach out to the group, to the mentors, see if we could work with them? What would you say with regards to wherever they're at, or whatever they've been labeled by, the professionals? Tell them about that. Like this program and you and our community or family vibe. What would you recommend?
Yeah, it's you just can't. I don't think you can do anxiety recovery on your own without the education that the mentorship offers. There is a learning curve, and that's all provided by the mentorship. The modules were invaluable, and now that I'm not in the mentorship anymore, it's really great that I still get access to them. So I might need a little memory jog every now and again, but learn. I learned about how anxiety works and the mechanics of it, and my fear of it, thanks to the mentorship, quickly dropped off. My fear of the symptom quickly dropped off, because I thought, well, okay, so there's not indeed. I was never scared of physical symptoms, Shiv, because I'd seen them many people with physical symptoms in my job at work that I knew that was anxiety. And because with my medical background, I know that palpitations in this sort of area aren't dangerous. They're not dangerous, for example. So those sorts of things never scared me. But it was the education around, for me, the education around how anxiety works, which was the mentorship provided, which it's in there, it's out there in books, but when you haven't got any support so when the book closes, you're like, it's really hard as a human being to intuitively stop doing what you've been doing for so long, which is generating the anxiety. So the mentorship grounded me, and I was able to just keep on learning through repetition. And again, the messages, they might come in a different guise, but they're all the same. They're all the same, and that's what you get from the mentorship, basically. So I'd recommend it to people. to really kickstart your recovery. But I will say there is an absolute element of you have to do it. These guys will guide you, but you have to do it. Can't come on the membership expecting them to cure you. This is a brain thing that you've just got to re-educate your brain. So we can have all that information, but we do need to do the work ourselves. I'm sure you agree with that, Shiv, as well.
Yeah, agreed, man. That's you took the words right out of my mouth. And so you want to work with the best, we will definitely provide links on here that you can get in touch with our Bye Bye Panic team if you're serious about the mentorship and working with us. Hey, we have a dream team though, right, Jonathan? Like, I'm sure it didn't take you long to connect with each coach, each mentor. We all bring something different to the table. We have people from all over the world who mentor, who have been through this, and they, qualified professional, and have great results. I always say numbers don't lie. And then, of course, all of these people that have struggled for years from all over the world in this program, and you being with us for some time and coming through it, and now where you're at recovery, you've seen people from all backgrounds, different languages, all of this. Anxiety is no respect of persons. So it doesn't matter where in the world you are, we can work with you. I'm over here in the Caribbean islands, and Jonathan is in the UK. And a couple weeks ago, I did another one of these with someone from Germany. So folks, you've seen it. You've met a great guy here in Jonathan. Man, we just wish you the best as you go out there and you continue to just live life, crushing it. I knew with the attitude you came in with, you were going to be great. And definitely this video today, you've given some hope. You've given some encouragement. So happy for you. Any last thing that you'd like to share as we wrap up?
Yeah, just a shout out to Abs, who I've become great friends with. He's still going through recovery, but no doubt he'll get where he wants to be. I've only ever worked with you, Shiv, so thanks to you. Mirka, thanks to Mirka, and Jeff, absolute legend, Jeff. Jeff was my anchor man throughout this. Resonated with Jeff loads, and I just happened to be on his calls the most as well. So he was great for me. But everybody's been, the same message is from everybody. I got some correspondence off Kaylee as well, who I never got to jump on her calls because they were always like 1 a.m. or something.
Right, your time zone. So we have different time zones that work for different places. Yep.
And I continue my recovery journey. I just continue it. I seem to be one of them people who might be a bit more prone to anxiety. So, I will always apply the skills.
Once you learn it, you don't fall back in. You learn it, and we make sure of it.
Yeah.
So, wow. Well, thank you so much, man. It's awesome
no problem.
seeing how great you've done. Like, you can literally see the transformation from when you started to where you're at. You have this glow about you, and it's just exciting to see that this is just yet another member that has come through the program, doing really great, and giving that encouragement. So yeah, folks, anybody that is really looking for that help, that support, reach out. And John, it was great having you on, man.
Nice one. Thanks, Shiv.
You got it.